Hey everyone, thanks for being here today. Hope you're all doing great. Today we're just going to cover a strategy on the Today tab. We're going to do Buy the Selloff. I'll start with the disclaimers. We can dive right in and answer any questions you have. Hi Candace, welcome. Okay, this is not a solicitation to buy or sell any security ever. This is not advice. You should read the characteristics and risks of standardized options. The results here are provided for general information purposes as a convenience to the viewers. The materials are not a substitute for obtaining professional advice from a qualified person, firm, or corporation. Trading futures and options involves the risk of loss. Please consider carefully whether futures or options are appropriate to your financial situation. Only risk capital should be used when trading futures or options. Investors could lose more than their initial investment. Past results are not necessarily indicative of future results. The risk of loss in trading can be substantial. Carefully consider the inherent risks of such investment in light of your financial condition. Great. So, hi Sheldon. Good afternoon to you as well. I'm Jason Hitchings. I'm the CTO of Capital Market Labs, the architect of TradeMachine, and I've been working with Ophir for a long time and doing this for a long time. We're going to cover Buy the Selloff today. We're going to look very briefly at stock breakouts and the earnings calendar. And I'm going to start off with the how to be successful piece of this as I have recently. So please, if you want to really know how you're doing in the long run, write down your trades and take some emotion out of it. Write down when you're going to get in, when you're going to exit, and track it. Say what strategy is it and how it did, record the actual results, the P&L, and then do that for a while. Try a strategy, do 4 or 5 or 6 trades in it, try another strategy, and just do this for a number of weeks, not all at the same time in the market. Sometimes the whole market can be up or down, and if you're doing bullish strategies, that'll look like you're doing great or not doing so great. But only with a real track record can you see how you're doing in the long term and then find the strategies that are working. And then if you want to, you can start small and then kind of reinvest those wins. If you start piling up wins in a certain strategy, then you have one that's working well for you. And then you can sort of scale up your trade sizes, once you actually have some capital that you've built up, without risking your sort of initial investment. Just an example of me writing down my trades. Last week, I did that CRM strangle in Salesforce. Just wanted to make a note that it hit the 20% return. That's all it's looking to do in that particular trade, is just to exit once you get a 20% return, and so it hit it the next day. So that trade did just what we would hope it did. We put at risk about 4,000. We made 800 in about a day, so that's great. That's what that strategy is supposed to do. Okay, so this is the Today tab. It's what everyone sees when they first log in. The liquidity filter up here at the top is currently for annual subscribers only. We call those subscribers Platinum. We will be rolling a version of this out to everyone. I get one person asking about sound. Mandy, are you hearing the sound okay?
I'm hearing everything okay.
Okay. Well, Svetlana, you might just need to adjust your computer audio, and if you have problems, you can always listen to the recording. But yeah, this is the screen you'll see when you log in. Currently, the liquidity filters for annual subscribers. We will roll a version out, probably be a little simpler, maybe just on or off to everyone else sometime soon. And I frequently go with 3+. You can read about the liquidity filters. Basically, this is just the width of the market. So we don't use the volume or the open interest. We don't think this really affects your ability to get filled, unless you're doing, 100 lot trades, which most of us aren't. So I might put that up to a 3, and then just kind of scrolling down through here, I'll show you in a second where we ended up. But this is a kind of a quick cheat sheet for what actual option strategy is being used with these different approaches. So Bollinger Buy the Dip uses a long call diagonal. You see long call diagonals, pretty frequently used. And a couple simpler strategies that are just one leg only. I will say that we included some long calls and long puts in here just to make it more approachable for people that are just getting into options. Oftentimes, you could probably improve upon these with a diagonal or a spread of some sort. At least you have a higher win rate. We can kind of tweak the results. But we talk about that in some other sessions, like taking a long call and turning it into a diagonal or a call spread and seeing what that does to your returns. But I think this is just kind of a helpful quick tab to see what strategies are what. But yeah, I just scrolled down here, found one that was triggered today. So anything that's active, at some point today will show up here on the Today tab. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be active throughout the day. It just means it triggered at some point. We don't take them off once they appear on here. But what you can do is, here's that SLB Buy the Selloff. When you click it, there'll be a little green flag here if it's still active. And so that is what we're seeing here, and it says that it triggered as of right now. What that means is that both the earnings conditions, if there are any, are active, and that it means that the technical open conditions are active as well. The technical open conditions on this particular strategy are that the 14-day RSI has to be below 25, meaning it's kind of, getting down towards the oversold range. That's kind of a, momentum indicator of it in a sense. And that the stock move percent on the day has to be negative. So it has to be down on the day. So if the stock popped up another 63 cents, then this technical condition would no longer be true and this flag would disappear. This strategy also has a technical close position, which we'll look at a little later. And as we look at this strategy, looking down the side here, we can see that it's not just using a call or a put or even a covered call or covered put. It's using a custom strategy. This one has a little bit of a strange name. It's just been around a long time, so the name's a little funny. But anytime you're wondering what the strategy is, you can click Edit, and then you see this custom strategy builder, and you can see the details here. So it's going to be long, a 50 delta call, 60 days in the future, and short, a 20 delta call, 30 days in the future. So under the vast majority of circumstances, this long option that you're buying now, which is more expensive, is going to appreciate more as the stock goes up. But this short option is going to lose value faster unless the stock goes truly meteoric. So basically what you're doing is financing this 60-day option by selling this 30-day option that's more out of the money. Delta, as a reminder, is one way to think about delta, which is accurate, mathematically accurate, is the likelihood that this option will finish in the money. So we're saying we're going to buy an option which has a 50-50 chance of finishing in the money 60 days from now, and we're going to sell an option that only has a 20% chance of finishing in the money, and it's going to expire 30 days from now. So that's our position. Earnings handling, never trade earnings. That means you want to sell 2 days before earnings occurs, and you want to buy it back 2 days after earnings if you happen to be holding it through an earnings event. We can see up here that the next earnings event is quite a ways out in the future. It says July 19th. It says not verified, but things don't get verified by our vendor until they're a little closer. But when it shows it's that far out, you can be pretty confident that you're not going to be coming into earnings, even if it does say non-verified. Then there's technical open, which we mentioned. You can read it here. You can also click the technical open and read it this way. It's a little bit more readable here. And this has a technical close. The technical close conditions are once you've already gotten into the position, you wouldn't exit the position until one, either leg expires and then you close the position, or two, the RSI regains some positive momentum and it's up above 40. You enter this if it's below 25 and you exit it when it goes above 40. Now, I'll make one more note on the custom strategy. This says close all legs with front munch options. If this was not clicked, what it would do is it would let this option expire and it would continue holding this option until it expires as well, or until the technical condition is met. If the technical condition for a close is met, it'll close everything. Same with if there's a limit or a stop loss, or if you have a condition that says sell it after 10 days, then it'll close everything. But with a custom strategy, if no other close conditions are met, if it says close all legs with the front month options, it's going to close both of these legs together as soon as the front month expires. And so once this backtest goes through, I can actually click it and you can see all the positions it opens. So it started this, first time it triggered was on 7th of December 2023. And you can see it had a technical close, meaning that the RSI went above 40 and they closed both positions. If you see, it looks like we're hitting our technical close a lot of the time here, but if you saw option expired, you see it close both options at the same time. Great. Okay, so the question becomes, if we decide we want to trade this, it has 2 wins and 1 loss. It has a 78% return. We know it's relatively liquid because when we did 3+, it means that the markets aren't going to be too wide. So if we decided that we wanted to trade this, for Platinum members, there's a little quick way to see what the actual options would be. You just click Show Options. It says, please double check the information with your brokerage because this is slightly delayed. And then it shows these 2 options. It says you want to be long the August 16 calls and short the July 5th 46 calls. But we can do the same thing with just another step. We know that this is our strategy, the 50 delta 60-day long, short the 20 delta 30-day. So we can click the show options and we could start with our long position. We know we want about 60 days out in the future. So it's pretty close. This one's 15 days away. This one's 13 days away. So we choose this. And then we just go down. These are the call deltas and we just look down this column for the one that's closest to 50. And currently that's this line here. So we'd buy those August 16th, the 45 calls. And then for our short position, we look for about 30 days in the future. And you can do the exact same thing in your brokerage. And we'd want to be short the 20 delta. So looking down here for the one closest to 20, this is closest to 20. So we'd be short this July 5th, 46 call. And when we click show options, yeah, that's exactly what we see. So we see that it's active. We're looking at, what the buy the sell off position is. And this is our technical close. This is our custom strategy. You see that we can do the show the options. And then this is just showing you the exact same thing. That's how you can actually look up the actual individual options. You don't have to use that sort of, premium feature. Great, so that's where we're going to be long, that's where we're going to be short. So now, for the sake of demonstration purposes, I'm going to put on the position. I just took screenshots using the Think or Swim web version. The Thinkers, you can use any brokerage, is all generally pretty similar. Just going to go to your options montage. You're going to do the same thing. You're just going to find the closest delta. And in this Think or Swim client, the position I want to be long, I can click the ask. It'll automatically do a buy order for that. And the position I want to be short, I can click on the bid. And in the web version of Thinkorswim, it opens this as a complex order ticket where I'm going to put both trades in at the same time. You can go in one at a time. So you could, buy the long leg first and then wait and then sell the short leg. That's definitely an approach you can take. Complex order book allows you to do both at the same time. So this is the position. When I click that, I click the ask of the one I wanted to buy and the bid of the one I wanted to sell. It defaults to 10 contracts. This price of this is going to be around $1 each, so around $100 per contract total. So I'm comfortable with that trade size, but this is a trade that you could do for as little as $104 or $105, on TradeMachine. Sometimes get asked how much capital you need to have in order to, trade options. That's, kind of a complicated question, but not every trade, first, as stated, like this money that's being used for options should be your risk capital. It's a little different than like your 401k retirement account. But it's nice to see strategies come through that, for $100 you could take a one lot, contract and start to test out a strategy. I'm going with the default of a 10 lot, so it's going to be about $1,000, a little over in terms of the initial outlay. I put this through. It says it's going to be debit of about $1,050. I click send. I waited a couple minutes. I wasn't getting filled. The market's moved slightly. Now the price I was trying to fill at for the spread, for the combined price, the buying and the selling, I was a little bit under midpoint. And so I wasn't confident that I was going to get filled there. So I just bumped it up to a little bit over the midpoint. I clicked review. I clicked send, and then I got filled. And you can see I gave up, about $5 edge, like $5 off of the midpoint when filling that trade. And so, for the moment, it's showing me down $10. That's about down 1%. And then now I just need to wait until either July 5th happens when this front month expires, or until the RSI gets above 40. Now, I don't know about you. I don't want to have a list of trades and then have to come every single day and check, hey, is SLB RSI above 40? That sounds like a lot of work. It sounds like a headache. So see that technical close condition. What we can do is simply set an alert. So when we're in this tool, right here, I can click add alert. And I'm going to note, when you click add alert, by default, it's going to set the alert conditions to the open condition, which are the kind of more common scenario. But I like to set close alert conditions for myself as well. So I'm going to click add alert. It's going to pull this up. It's saying, okay, here's the share link. It's going to send this to you via text in the notes or via email. When you open that link, it's going to show the exact same backtest. It's also going to show the end date of whenever that share link was created. So it's going to show the end date of today. So some people are saying like, hey, why didn't the trade show up? I clicked the share link, like this share link might have been from yesterday or something like that. So this backtest would end yesterday now, but I will note this green flag is always saying if the position is ready to enter today with current market conditions. It is assuming that you do not have a position on currently. So even if the backtest had a position on, it would still say it's available to enter because it's assuming that you don't have a position on. So this is saying it's ready to enter a new position. The share link is going to be whatever the date was when it was created. We keep everything the same so you see exactly the way it was when you entered. If you want to say, well, how has it done since then? If you check this a week later and you say like, well, I'm not seeing it, what's going on? You just need to update the end date. A fast way to do that is just to click any one of these buttons will update the end date until today. So if I say I want to look at the last 2 years, it's now updating the end date until today. That share link is going to be created as part of the alert. These conditions are the technical open conditions. That's not what I want for this, because this is a reminder to close this thing. So I'm going to get rid of this stock moves down. That's not part of my close conditions. And I'm going to say the RSI 14 is not below 25, but is above 40. That's my conditions to close. And then I'm going to write myself a note, close this trade. I can enter a phone number and it'll text me as well. And now it's going to check multiple times a day between, indefinitely in the future. And as soon as this condition is met, it's going to send me this note, close the trade. Now, once it does that, if you actually do go ahead and close the trade, you don't need that alert anymore, but it's going to keep sending you that alert. Most alerts, once they're in the system, will keep sending out. So I just simply searched SLB. This is the trade we just created. After I actually get alerted to it, I'm not going to delete it now because I actually want this alert because I'm actually, this is a live trade I have on, but then I would click X to close it. There is, however, another close condition for this trade. And the close condition is that we're going to sell both options if the front month expires. And I don't want to just let this run. If this, let's say that this 46 call in July expires out of the money, then that's great. But I don't want to just let this position run. So I'm going to set myself another note for July 5th that says, let me check what day of the week July 5th is. Okay, July 5th. So it's actually showing the Friday day, not the Saturday. So that's good. So I'm going to set myself a note and say on July 5th, check, if I haven't already closed the position, close it. So I'm going to set myself two little notes here. I'm just going to click add alert because it'll create that share link again for me. But now I'm going to say on a calendar day, I'm going to say this is June. I'm going to go forward to July. I'm going to say on July 5th, close both legs if open. Now the calendar days alerts will only happen once. So those you don't have to worry about deleting. Once this period of time passes, it's gone forever. The other one that will, if you set an alert that will delete forever, is a stock price alert. So for some reason you want to say, hey, I want to get into Microsoft if it drops down below whatever, 150, whatever the thing is, that alert, it will only send once. It doesn't continue to send that over and over and over. All the other alerts remain in the system until you actually delete them. Okay, so I'm going to add that alert as well. And now I can more or less set it and forget it until the time comes. Had there been a limit on this trade, I could set a limit to exit or a stop to exit. This one doesn't have those. It had a technical close, and then we exit the position once the front month expires. So that's all the main stuff about this strategy, the buy the sell-off. You can see that the technical conditions are being met the way that we'd expect. So the RSI is below 25. So that indicates there's sort of downward stock price movement, which is definitely true. And the stock has to be down on the day, and then we're waiting for like a little bit of recovery. Now, doesn't mean that it'll, this RSI could turn above 40 without necessarily being above the initial price we got into it, but these are the conditions that we set. When we created this strategy, we tested, thousands and thousands and thousands of different, back tests and different scenarios, and found that these were optimal, that they created the best result overall. Okay, so this is just those things that were mentioned. And so it's always good, so part of the value of the live help is that we, also are doing this for, both existing users that are trying to, refine their knowledge, but also some brand new users. So as a reminder to people who already know, and as a first time exposure to people who are new, a couple things to note. When we have a share link, it shares everything. It updates all the settings, including days to expiration, including start and end date, commissions, etc. So in this little settings gear, if it's filling mid-market or halfway between mid, etc., that's going to get updated. The number of contracts is going to get updated, as well as the deltas, which essentially are the strikes. Delta takes into account both strike, timed expiration, volatility. Delta is like a much more powerful, sophisticated version of just trying to trade it. Something $5 out of the money. You can read a lot more about Delta here. But these will always get updated when you open a new share link. That can be a little bit confusing at times because if I open a different strategy here, we very well may start to see different, settings populating here. So this was 50 before, now it's a 40. So you might say, hey, I'm used to the midpoint always being a 50 delta. Why is my first leg now a 40 delta? So that's why. We do that because we want the backtest to be exactly the way it shows on the Today tab. And if we don't update all the settings, then you wouldn't see all the updates. Additionally, you'll frequently see a comma after a ticker. If you don't have the comma, then it will test 5 different scenarios for you. It'll be each one of these strikes. And if you do a call spread, for instance, if you have a 2-legged strategy, then it'll be the top and the bottom spread. And that's a good example. So now looking at these strategies, it's saying, hey, I can't trade a call spread because I can't buy and sell a 60 call. like a 60 delta. So these were probably set to some kind of straddle or something like that. You can either, if you unclick it, it will always choose something sensible. If you don't choose the custom strategy, you can also just update these to be something that makes more sense. So I just want to mention that because it can be a little confusing at first when those things start to change. You can also test for multiple symbols at once. So I could test something like this. Now it's just going to use the middle delta. So if you have multiple tickers, it's going to just test the middle one. And if you only want to look at the middle one for only one ticker, that's when you just put a ticker and then a comma after it, and it'll just run the one backtest. Additionally, if you click portfolios, you can run a backtest against a whole portfolio of tickers. I think currently for monthly subscribers, this number is set to 50 that you can test. And for annual subscribers, it's set to 200. We're going to continue to increase these over time. We give some, kind of bells and whistles to annual subscribers because it helps our business. It helps us with how we license servers from Amazon, etc. So if you're feeling good about the product, we I'd say strongly encourage, but we'd love it if you could update annual. All you have to do is just email support. Some users, if you click your account, you'll be able to see an upgrade option directly. But if you don't see it there, just email support@cmlviz.com and we'll get you all set up. Okay, so a couple more things in the Today tab. If you like a strategy and you don't want to log in the Today tab all the time, you can also set a notification here. You can say what group you want, and we'll send you an email when those strategies are met. I had a request from Max, who is kind of our ambassador within the community. He said, so I wanted to make one little note. This is kind of for more advanced users. This particular strategy, when you click it, its fill type, instead of being mid-market, is halfway between mid. So if you have a bid and ask that's 50 cents apart, instead of using 25 cents, like right the midpoint, it's going to go a little bit above it. So if it's like a dollar wide, it's going to be at the 75 cents above the bid price. That's because sometimes with this particular strategy, with these three legs, illiquid names would end up with really funny fill prices when the markets were more illiquid. So this just gave a better overall result. So I'll just note that this strategy backtests assuming a little bit less optimistic on your fill price, that you're paying a little bit more than the halfway price. And then real quickly down here, we also have a whole section on the stock notable technical breakouts. These are very similar to the strategies above. These are all option strategies. These are all stock strategies. They pretty much correspond to the strategies that are shown above. You can always click the question mark to read more about the strategy. The ones for the options have videos and help pages. Ones for stock oftentimes just show you the technical conditions for these to be met. You get a lot of questions about the efficiency score. And so what the efficiency score says is, how big was your return relative to how much drawdown you had in that position? So if you put a position on for $1,000 and it ended up where you showed on paper a loss, but then you ultimately made a $200 gain, that would be considered a 2 efficiency because your gain is 200, your maximum drawdown would be 100. So that's what this means. So it's kind of a different way of looking at your return. It's saying your return relative to your risk. And the way it's thinking about risk at this point is not the actual cash you put into the stock, but the amount of red that you ever showed in that position. You can read more about it on the help pages. So if you go to the Learn tab, lots of great resources here. We have an archive of all these live help sessions. We have education that goes in depth on, delta and implied volatility. This part 1 is for people really brand new to options, but this part 2 is a good refresher on delta and implied volatility and some kind of practical aspects. And then it goes on from there. Those are a courtesy to all of our existing members, but really great resource here to learn about all kinds of things within the product. And then additionally, we'd love for you to come join the conversation in community. We have Max there who goes under the handle chat Uncle Pops. This just says, be nice to everyone. You click agree. This is for CML Pro, which is a stock investment service, which has performed really well over time. This is for TradeMachine, what we're all talking about today. And yeah, this is just a great conversation. You can see Chat Uncle Pops is here. He's there to answer questions and give you feedback on the tool and all that kind of great stuff. So this is just a great place to learn and exchange ideas. And so we strongly encourage you to join the conversation there. And with that, thank you for your kind attention. And I'll answer any questions that we have for the next 10 minutes or so if we have those. Sheldon says, well, I'll go in order. Judy says, does TradeMachine default to the best option for the strategy when the close all leg box is checked or not? When creating a custom strategy, so go to the backtest tab. When you click a custom strategy, it puts it in your list. So it'll be there, for the long run. Then you can use that strategy in the future. So anytime you click one, it'll show up here. You can clear it from your own list if you wish to, just by clicking the delete. This custom strategy is this custom strategy. So anytime you choose this, all of these settings won't change. However, for each of these, buy the sell-off, buy the dip, fade the dip, etc., any of these that use custom strategies, the custom strategy was chosen specifically for this strategy because it works well for this strategy. So sometimes you might see a 40 delta, 20 delta diagonal where you're buying something 14 days out and selling something 7 days out, or buying something 30 days out and selling something 14 days out. So for each of these strategies, we tweaked and adjusted custom strategies that fit well for that particular set of technicals. When you pull up one, this specific name, this strategy will not change. However, we will choose different strategies. We have a lot of variations of this one. This is the 50-20, diagonal call spread. But you'll see a 40-20, and it might be different days. So we do choose custom strategies. Like, not all of the call diagonals are the same. We choose ones, we test a bunch of different scenarios, and we choose the ones that work best. Sheldon says, thank you for the options courses 1 through 4. Been out of the market since 2016 and wanted a refresher. Highly recommend it to anyone seeking a top-notch course. Once again, thank you. I'm so glad to be a member of CML Viz TradeMachine, and I look forward to positively communicating in community very soon. Best regards, and thank you once again. Sheldon, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really nice to hear. Follow-up question. How do you upload symbols from Excel to a custom strategy? Great. So there's saved backtests, which is basically these backtest links. So if I do just a random AMD long put, I can set a technical open with just anything. So if I click this thing, I can save this as my AMD long put. So that's a saved backtest that will show up on this list. And when you load it, it's going to load everything here exactly as it is. The custom strategy will just be, so short, but I'm just choosing something random. This is what we call a custom. These are kind of a custom options position. We use the term strategy in a couple different scenarios. I just wanted to show you the different things. So this kind of custom saved option position, like the option strategy type, this will just be for these legs, and you can give it a name and you can save it. You can, tweak it up to 4 legs and save that. Additionally, if you want a custom list of tickers, when I click portfolio, so we default it with a bunch of different things. This is the NASDAQ 100, the Dow 30, and a bunch of sort of components of these different ETFs for different industries. So anything with underscore in front of it, everyone gets by default, and you can also create your own. So if I click new, I can say Jason portfolio. And from here, you can pretty much just copy and paste it in. Sometimes, so this is I'm using this as an example. I'm not trying to, overwhelm people with different products, but I'm going to log into Pattern Finder real quick just to show. So if I use this stock screener, there's all of these great strategies here with tons of different, institutional holders information, lots of great stuff. So I can export these tickers into spreadsheet and open these up and then paste tickers that way into the product. If it doesn't like the new lines, that is a request that we've had, is if you have, so this one, it did take okay. So right now I just copied these tickers from that exported list and I just pasted them directly in here. You click add those and it'll just add them all at once. Now I have my custom JSON portfolio. If you don't need that portfolio anymore, you can just click delete it and it'll go to a different portfolio. Okay, can you show us the stock strategy and how it worked out today? Was this available yesterday afternoon after the close or before the market open? It's a question from WB. You can just put a follow-up in the chat, WB. It says, can you show us the stock strategy? So that could mean a couple different things to me. It could mean on the Today tab, we have all of these stock technical breakouts. So each one of these is a separate strategy. Or I wasn't sure if you meant that for SLB, you wanted to see what it looks like if we did stock instead of option. So this is that custom diagonal. So if we click stock, we still have 2 wins, 1 loss. We have a 9.5% return. That may not sound like much, but when you look at the holding period here, so this is holding it for 7 days. This is holding it for about 15 days. So these are very short holding periods. And so, 10% return for how little time you're actually, deploying the cash is a pretty solid return. Okay, is there a way to reset the backtest tab to default settings? We're going to add that. It's a pretty frequent request. Generally speaking, if you go to alerts and you come back to the backtest tab, the settings will kind of revert. A funny thing happens when if you open up so that's saying number of contracts is custom because that's set within the custom strategy. Generally speaking, if you just click away and click back, then you will see the original settings. But if you open and you click save, now it's going to save them. If you want to look at them without saving them, you can actually just click the settings button again. We're going to do a couple things. One, we'll add a close, and then two, we'll add a reset defaults here just to simplify for everyone. So you can expect that to be coming soon. It's a question we get quite a bit. For technical opens, is there any way to add conditions relative to other symbols? Example, the SPY or QQQ. The only symbol that you can do that for right now is the VIX, but I do think that would be a great feature. It's something that I've talked with Ophir about. So right now you can say, like, hey, how are we doing relative to the VIX? And that's exactly what that does. This we will add to the product at some point is instead of just the VIX, we could say, the price. We have to decide how we want to compare to other stock prices. Like normally, if you're doing pair trading of stocks, you're looking at percent changes over time. And so there's a few things like that to figure out. The VIX, you can kind of say, hey, how's the VIX, the absolute value of the VIX mean something. If the VIX is at 40, that tells you something about the sort of fear in the market. The VIX, for anyone who doesn't know, is the implied volatility roughly 30 days out on the S&P 500 options. So the VIX level you can kind of use as a proxy for like kind of the market fear index, if you will. But we will eventually get that added to the product. I do think adding some kind of pair trading capabilities would be really cool. So we'll get that in there. Okay, anyone? Okay, so yeah, for these stock notable technical breakouts, let's see that one that triggered today. This is the big Bollinger Recovery breakout. So this one is showing that it did very well relative to the risk. These also have a days to close. So these are only holding. This one holds only open for 10 days, this one for 22 days. We do select for these. We show 10 if 10 has been better. We show 22 if 22 has been better. So clicking this particular ticker. Yeah, so this just traded the one time. Here's the technical open here for this Bollinger. So this is when the Bollinger breaks out through, the stock breaks out through that Bollinger level. So you can see right here, it just broke through that Bollinger Band. I can zoom in here and see that it just broke out. And that's when the technical open started. And that's just traded the one time. It returned, within 10 days, it returned 6%. And so that's how that particular stock strategy is done. Great. Well, we're right about 41 minutes, which is a pretty good sweet spot for these sessions. I appreciate everyone attending. We try to do these at least once a week. Right now, we're kind of alternating between sessions that are for new users and sessions that are for more experienced users. Going through each one of these, like today's tab strategies, and kind of making sure that we've given a good explanation of each one of those. So we'll probably continue to do that on the Tuesday sessions. And then Thursdays for a little while. Thursday after the market might be for sort of new users for the next couple of weeks, to give you a heads up. But yes, thank you all so much for being here. Please join us in community and share your thoughts and ask some questions. And thanks for being members, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.